Right, we're on. You may have noticed a lot of what we read was about nutrition, spiritual nutrition. And that's why this week's called Food for Thought. And the basic question I'm asking, so what is a healthy spiritual diet? Spiritual diet's no different than a physical diet. So is it meant to be a genetically modified junk food with no real substance or nutritional value that most people out there consume? Even though it's a spiritual diet, it's still the same, genetically modified junk food. No real substance, no nutritional value. Fast food, takeaway. Is it the popular addictive sugar-coated decadent treats that always leave you wanting more and more? Of course I wouldn't know about that. Is it the latest strange extreme fad diet promoted by celebrity idols? Or is it the rich trendy designer desserts that are aimed at making you feel good? Like everything else, we need to go back to the foundational basics, because spiritual obesity is just as much a major problem today as physical flab. As we were reading in there, those that put their faces in the trough and just took as much as they possibly could didn't want them. It's the ones that were down on one knee, keeping their eyes on the horizon, hand on the sword, and just lapping the water, taking what they needed, not pigging out in the trough. Lots of people are out there obese on spiritual fast food, spiritual takeaways, but they're not healthy. Millions of unquestioning addicts consume massive amounts of on-trend fast food religion that churns out an endless supply of genetically altered, modified scriptures that don't require any participation whatsoever, and certainly not any practice. So, just come along, hear it, and then go out, and you've no need to act on any of it. No need to exercise and burn spiritual calories through the process of putting those words into practice. And as any real fitness expert will tell you, consuming more than you work off with exercise will make you weak, flabby, and overweight, spiritually as well as physically. Romans 2:13 tells us it's not merely the hearers of Torah that Yahweh considers righteous, but rather it is the doers of what Torah says who will be made righteous in His sight. So we need to question ourselves today: are we doers or are we merely hearers? Are we eating the right food to make us fighting fit and ready for action? And are we going hard out with our daily prayer aerobics? Or are we spiritually overweight, self-righteous academics, wannabes? You know the definition of a theologian? Somebody who spends all his time answering questions that nobody's asking. People don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. And like physical food, just because something tastes sweet like honey in the mouth does not mean it won't become bitter. Remember when He told them to swallow the scrolls? They tasted sweet when they went in, but then they became bitter when it was digested. Why? Because unlike spiritual food, this stuff's not designed, spiritual food is not designed to excite our physical senses or to entertain us by feeding our fleshly cravings. I've been into meetings where it's more like a rock concert. People are cheering and trying to get forward, and was it up the front where the blessing comes out? When anybody gets healed, they're all there taking the camera shots. And we're not supposed to be going into a place where our physical cravings are taken care of. Food is food. And it's created purely to fuel our spiritual engines, just like any fuel. It's not there to get the car excited. It's just there to make the car run. We don't need an adrenaline rush every week. A spiritual adrenaline rush. But of course, the important thing is the fuel needs to be the right fuel. It's no good just saying, well, I need spiritual fuel. It has to be the right fuel for maximum healthy efficiency. Let's just say you put diesel into an unleaded vehicle. Done it once. You'll find most garages actually have a lock on the diesel to make sure you don't just grab it. Unfortunately, the one I went to in Rotorua didn't. But normally if you put diesel into an unleaded vehicle, you're going to have a major problem. Yes, it'll keep going for a while. Then you'll wonder why your car's starting to run a bit rough. And eventually it will slow down and grind to a shuddering halt. There is, of course, a solution. The way to fix the problem is to thoroughly and completely flush out and clean the entire fuel system and replace it with a new tank of genuine petrol. It's no different spiritually. If we're running on the wrong fuel, we need a complete clean out, complete flushing of the system, and the right fuel putting in. The time when I did it had to be the Lord, had to be grace. Because I put so much in, realised what I was doing, and then filled it up with petrol. And it didn't miss a beat. This is the old silver car, never missed a beat. We were in Rotorua, it sailed through Rotorua, it sailed home, never missed a beat, and never had to have anything cleaned out. Which doesn't happen. Once you put diesel in, you've got a problem.
You must have been praying that day.
Oh, I was praying frantically. I was thinking, here we are in Rotorua, and I've done this. What's going to happen?
I'm going to get home.
And of course, I didn't tell Pamela because I didn't want to worry her. I probably should have gone, and she could have prayed as well. She probably thought I was just a bit edgy when I kept looking at the thing and kept driving. But that's it, we have to run on the right fuel. The cars are made to run on a particular fuel. And we're exactly the same. We will function badly if any at all, or any substitute or counterfeit of the correct spiritual fuel is put into us. We have to have the correct fuel that we're designed to run on. And of course the other thing is that fuel can only be accessed from the one refinery. There's only one refinery that fuel comes from. You can't just get it from any old gas station. You have to go back to the original refinery. But the problem is there are multitudes of alternate religious fuel supplies out there. But also matched by even more wreckers yards with the results of what they've been putting into these spiritual beings. There's wreckers yards full of crushed piles of twisted casualties. There are many, many people just sitting at home that have been hurt and damaged and had the wrong fuel put in, and they just sit at home and go nowhere. And what do people say about them? Well, they obviously just weren't up for the job. They've obviously just backslidden. They've obviously, got no faith. And they put them down. Instead of saying, these are casualties, we need to take care of them. We need to minister to them. We need to bring healing to them. These are the 100th sheep. It's no good saying, well, the other 99 are fine. We need to keep an eye out for the 100th. Why would he give us any more sheep if we don't take care of the ones we've got? As I've said many times before, our first sheep lives at home with us. But the 100th sheep can be out there and needs help. We don't leave them by the wayside or put them down, because that's the nice thing to do. Oh, they're never going to make it. Boom. No, I see too much of that. There's plenty more where they came from. Because we live in a disposable world. Some people just assume that everything can be replaced, including people. Why? Because people see life as cheap. And particularly what we're talking about, all the bombings and everything else that's happening like that. Why did they do it? Because life's cheap. Plenty more where they came from. Life is not cheap. It comes at a price. Yeshua is the one that paid it. Tanakh says, man does not live on bread alone. Of course not. You have to make a sandwich. But on every word that comes from the mouth of Yahweh. So one's physical food and one's spiritual food. And you need both. And he also says, everyone who drinks this water will get thirsty again. But whoever drinks the water I give him will never be thirsty again. So again, he continues to make this distinction between physical food, physical drink, and spiritual food and spiritual drink. We need both. You neglect either one of them and you will either die physically or you will die spiritually. On the contrary, the water I give him will become a spring of water inside him, welling up into eternal life. In other words, you become a geyser. What does the world say? You are what you eat. You are what you physically eat. In which case, the world's in trouble. I say, more importantly, you are what you spiritually consume. You checked your mileage lately? Are you running rough? You need a tune-up? Maybe you need to change to an original, more refined, higher octane blend of fuel that will help you to undertake longer and much more challenging journeys spiritually. Use it or lose it is the formula used to describe physical muscle building, gym junkies, gym bunnies. But prayer is the daily, hourly, minute by minute exercises needed to build our spiritual physique. It takes just as much effort. Use it or lose it. But on top of that, it's not just exercising. We have to put the resulting answers that we get when we pray into practice. But of course people say, oh no, we're time poor. Oh yeah, where did it all go? Who pinched it? Did Yahweh make a mistake and not give us enough time? He gave us enough time, we just keep trying to squeeze more and more out of it. Sometimes instead of let's try and squeeze more time out of it, we need to turn around and say Selah. Let's smell the roses. Let's just sit back and just absorb what we've heard and what we've seen. Enjoy the journey and not concentrate on the destination. The people say we're time poor. We want an easy way. Show us the quick and easy shortcuts that you see on TV. You don't need to exercise. You just stand on this machine and it'll vibrate you to death. Any dietitian will tell you there's no easy fix. Yes, you can consume barrel loads of powders instead of food, but you won't be healthy. So people want the quick and easy way. They want shortcuts. And they say, you're just being old-fashioned and retro. Thank you for the compliment. What does it matter if I skip breakfast? Just have snacks and energy drinks on the go. My son Sivan existed on energy drinks. He loved energy drinks and coffee, and it didn't do him much good. It wasn't very healthy. It wasn't good fuel. Is it 7 or 9 cups a day of coffee, and you start to develop hypertension and tremors? It's not good for you. So what do? You have energy drinks as well with even more caffeine, described in about six different ways. It's all caffeine, but it just has different names like guarana, and there's about 6 different names for caffeine, and they use all of them. You think you've got different ingredients, but it's just more of the same. Energy drinks aren't actually energy drinks, they have the opposite effect. They're the diesel. You put diesel in an unleaded tank and you've got a problem. So I'll have snacks and energy drinks, and I'll be good. I'll even throw in the odd TV dinner that's nuked in the microwave. Or, if I really want something healthy, I'll have a pizza delivered to the door. And people do all the same things spiritually. They want fast food, they want easy stuff, they don't want to have to digest it. Stick it in a blender, just drink it, it's much quicker. Like my daughter Debbie, whatever it was, she would put in a sandwich. If it was pizza, it went in a sandwich. If it was a roast dinner, it went in a sandwich. Everything went in a sandwich. How that helped, I don't know. But it's time to get real. Nobody these days has time for a full family sit-down roast meal and veggies. In fact, they're told that it's not good for you. Unfortunately, the quality or lack of it that goes into the system determines the eventual lifespan of that system. So what you put in determines what comes out. And it's just the same spiritually. People want their taste buds, their ears tickled with quick, easy, fast food, junk food formulas. Not only that, they're even happy to pay someone else to manufacture and prepare these easy religious fixes for them. They just turn up once a week to consume them. If it's convenient, for a quick shot of spiritual additives to ease the conscience. It's like the new companies now making a fortune by sticking food in a bag and delivering it to your door. And a recipe to go with it. Don't people have recipe books anymore? Don't they know how to go to a greengrocer or a supermarket anymore? You pay twice and 3 times the price for somebody else to just get the ingredients for you and stick them in a bag. Same thing happens spiritually. People don't want to have to do it for themselves anymore. They just turn up, get their fix and go home again. They've had their quick shot of spiritual additives, their energy drink, and their conscience is eased. And some of them are actually told that all they've got to do is just confess their sins, and then they can go out and do it again all week. And then they come back next week and they do the same thing again, and they're fresh for another week of sinning. But as I've said many times before, we are not just physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And therefore we need constant nutrition, physically and spiritually. We need fine-tuning on a regular basis. We need guidance. We need encouragement. And we need fresh data downloads to keep our spiritual GPS up to date. The GPS I've got, I plug it in every month, and every month they update it with fresh information to make sure it's completely up to date. When we plug into Yahweh, it does the same thing. He constantly updates our GPS, our spiritual GPS. Otherwise you might go the wrong way. You ever had a GPS where it turns around and says turn left, and you think, if I turn left I'm going to be straight in the water? We were never meant to be isolated, standalone, self-centered beings. Being isolated is not healthy. The one thing I can guarantee is spiritually and physically, isolation will make you sick. Mentally, physically, spiritually. Not good for you. It even says in the Word, do not neglect the coming together. So many people go off on a religious tangent because they're isolated and they have all the answers and nobody else does. They hear from God and nobody else hears from Him, and they go off on these strange journeys because there's nobody else there to set them straight and say that's a load of rubbish. Doesn't match the Word. We need other people to keep us on track and keep us balanced sometimes. But it seemed like a good idea. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. We were never meant to be isolated, standalone, self-centered beings. It's completely unhealthy. But we're meant to be integral parts of a messianic body. Don't you find it interesting that what he describes in there is a body with different functions, all parts of the same body functioning together? What we actually see out there is a dysfunctional lump of, it's like looking at a butcher's block, there's lumps of meat all over the place, and each lump of meat's turning around and saying, I don't need you, I've got it all. It's time for the body to come together. Jewish and Gentile, one new man. We're integral parts of a messianic body which by its very definition is tight-knit and supportive. We're never ever designed to do it alone. You notice in there the first thing he says to him, it's not good that man is alone. Do you think he made a mistake when he gave him Eve? He gave him exactly what he needed. Two halves to keep them balanced. She wasn't there to be subservient to him. She wasn't there to dominate him. She was there to come alongside him as a helpmate. And this is our job, is to come alongside one another and build one another up in love. The greatest skill you can learn and practice is to never neglect the commitment and practice of coming together with all the other parts. I mean, let's get real. We expect Abba to faithfully keep all of his appointments with us. Don't we get upset and jump up and down if he doesn't keep his appointment with us or doesn't give us what we ask for? We get really upset with him. When we ask him, he does keep them. That's the difference. We expect him to faithfully keep his appointments for us when we ask, because he does. But if we do, then we need to hold ourselves to the same standards by fitting in and being reliable and committed as part of a team, a part of a body that he's placed us in. We need to accept responsibility. When a part of the body isn't here, then the body's missing something and not functioning properly. He expects us to become far more of a giver than a receiver. The world today wants to be completely received. You can only receive from what you've given. If you haven't given, then there's nothing to receive. You have to sow before you can reap. Of course, no community is perfect. I'm here. It can't possibly be perfect if I'm here. That's the whole point. People turn and say, I'm looking for the perfect community. There isn't one. And if there was, as soon as I got there, it wouldn't be. We're not perfect. Why? Because it consists of human beings. Talmud and training. We're all naturally flawed and imperfect. But, under Yeshua's leading and guidance, we can definitely keep stepping up and moving to a higher level. He makes us more than we can be. The individual-based human rights movement out there has a motto. It's all about me. I see t-shirts out there. It's all about me. My body, my choice. Oh yeah? Whose body? Whose choice? Not me, his choice. His body, his choice. Those two statements are the complete opposite of Yahweh's way. And they are definitely not kingdom principles. Yes, he does deal with us as individuals, but only as a part of the body, his body. We're individuals, but we're part of a body. It's interesting, the whole problem of sin and its inevitable penalty, death, was introduced by being disobedient and eating the wrong food. Isn't it interesting? It was a meal that caused all the problems. Give me the green stuff on the tree. Give me that stuff on the tree. I don't care about my birthright. Just give me the fruit on the tree. I'm dying. He told me I should eat it. She told me I should eat it. Always passing the buck. Doesn't matter who told you should eat it. He was warned from the very start, do not eat. Ultimately, Adam was responsible. He was told not to eat the fruit. Couldn't blame anybody else. But he did. It's the one I think I've told about it before, where there was a hotel somewhere in Spain, I think, and it was right on the edge of the cliff. And down below it was all beautiful water and stuff like that. And they were having a planning meeting in this luxury hotel one day, and suddenly somebody says, what would happen if somebody fished? They might break a window. And they said, we hadn't thought about that. So they put signs on the windows of every room in the hotel, no fishing from the balconies. Guess what happened? Suddenly they started having a lot of broken windows. People took one look at that and thought, fishing, water from the balcony, what a good idea. And they all started fishing from the balcony and smashed the windows. And that's what we do. It never even occurred to anybody before to fish from the balcony. I suspect the person in the meeting had a problem. So, death was introduced by being disobedient and eating the wrong fruit, eating the wrong fuel. We know we shouldn't, and Abba's warned us about the consequences if we do. The choice is ours. Do we actually want to live a healthy life, and more importantly, teach our children to do the same by our actions, not by what we say, but by what we do? How many times have you heard that one? Do as I say, not as I do. Total opposite of a kingdom principle. Total opposite of Yahweh's way. Yahweh's way is do as I say. Do as I do. Not just as I say. It's both. Do as I say and as I do. As I do will explain what I say. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for your kids. The way you're living is teaching them how they should live. Like I said before, when you lead, it means people are following. And if people are following, they're watching what you do. You'd be surprised what they notice. So many times I hear it, and I've heard it in my own kids from time to time, and you hear them say something, and you think, they shouldn't be saying that. And you suddenly hear the way they say it, the exact tone they say it in, and realise they're saying it because they've heard you say it. Just like that. Say it the same way, same tone. They pick up more than you think. So we teach our children and those around us to do what we do by our actions. Or do we just want to fit in? Be one of the boys. Don't rock the boat. Be one of us and not one of them, whoever them are. Go with the flow, just like all the other dead fish. Only salmon swim upstream. All the other dead fish just float down. We're spiritual lemmings, following all the other compliant suicidal followers over the cliff edge. After all, it's tradition. We're lemmings, we've always done this way. But what happens when you go over the cliff? I don't know. Don't ask religious questions. Tradition. But Abba says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, and your ways are not my ways, says Yahweh. As high as the sky is above the earth, are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. And his promise today, whether you realise it or not, is manna still available. It didn't just stop in the wilderness. The only difference now is this is spiritual manna. It's still available on a daily basis. We can collect it, just enough. On a Friday we can collect a double portion to last us all the way through Shabbat. So next Shabbat, feel free to bring your lunch with you. Your double portion of manna. Spiritual manna. What is this spiritual manna? Every word that comes from his mouth. We don't live by bread alone. We live on the manna that comes from his mouth. His word. It sustains us. And if we put it into practice, we will go higher, faster, and be stronger. So shalom, lachem mahad, bread lovers, shalom. Hands up, bread lovers. Particularly when it's hot.